step inside the vibe. Welcome to the flow. From the mind of Lil Joe, where the stories grow. Laid back wisdom, smooth as Sunday brunch. Alive for thought, he hits you with the punch. Lil Joe's mind a maze of gold. From jokes to truth, stories untold. Pull up a chair, let the convo roll. It's the mind of Lil Joe, feeding your soul. Talking about the world from the wild to the mild. Every topic on the table, thoughts free and wild. Chill like a summer breeze, groove so divine. From the cosmos to the corner, all intertwined. Retro funk with a lo-fi sway. Chill rap waves, let the podcast sing. Wisdom laced in humor, truths in disguise. Lil Joe dropping gems, open up your eyes. From late night laughs to early morning rants. Philosophies dance while the rhythm enchants. Relax, kick back, it's the vibe we sow. Straight from the mind of Lil Joe, let's go. Lil Joe's mind a maze of gold. From jokes to truth, stories untold. Pull up a chair, let the convo roll. It's the mind of Lil Joe, feeding your soul. Lil Joe's mind a maze of gold. From jokes to truth, stories untold. Pull up a chair, let the convo roll. It's the mind of Lil Joe, feeding your soul. Talking about the world from the wild to the mild. Every topic on the table, thoughts free and wild. Chill like a summer breeze, groove so divine. From the cosmos to the corner, all intertwined. Retro funk with a lo-fi swing. Chill rap waves, let the podcast sing. Wisdom laced in humor, truths in disguise. Lil Joe dropping gems, open up your eyes. From late night laughs to early morning rants. Philosophies dance while the rhythm enchants. Relax, kick back, it's the vibe we sow. Straight from the mind of Lil Joe, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Lil Joe's mind a maze of gold. From jokes to truth, stories untold. Pull up the chair, let the convo roll. It's the mind of Lil Joe, feeding your soul. Feeding your soul.
The Exchange Club Family Center is here to help parents learn how to provide a safe and healthy, nurturing home environment. If you would like to be a part of the program and live in Nassau, Baker, or Clay counties, please go to the Exchange Club Family Center website at exchangeclubfamilycenter.com. Or if you'd like to become a member of the Exchange Club here in Jacksonville, please also go to our website again at exchangeclubfamilycenter.com.
What happens when your story is too small for the big networks? When your message matters, but you can't afford the spotlight. That's where Purpose-Inspired TV steps in. We're the bridge between the haves and have-nots, covering the events and voices others ignore. Available on Roku and Fire TV, we make professional streaming affordable for everyone. Your purpose deserves a platform. Join Purpose-Inspired TV. What happens when your story is too small for the big networks? When your message matters, but you can't afford the spotlight. That's where purpose-inspired TV steps in. We're the bridge between the haves and have-nots, covering the events and voices others ignore. Available on Roku and Fire TV, we make professional streaming affordable for everyone. Your purpose deserves a platform. Join Purpose-Inspired TV.
Righty. What's up, everybody? I pray everybody is doing well. It's little Joe here. I guess y'all can see you've never seen this setup before. You've never seen this. No, you haven't. I am on location at the selfie showroom here in Jacksonville. Um, Lim Turner in Sutel. I'm live on my phone on my regular Facebook page, and I'm actually live on my Purpose Inspired TV page, the FMN Live page, From the Mind of Lil Joe page on the YouTube channel. So I got a lot going on. So bear with me. Like I said, I got let me go put that button right there. Oh man, I need to stop pushing buttons. No, resume. No, flip that around. Come on, people. All these other apps popping up. Sorry, people on the other channel. Oh my goodness. Resume. Flip it around. All right. I say it again. I am at the selfie studio here in Jacksonville. I'm live on the computers over here, and I got the camera set up over there. So I'm doing about 15 things at the same time. But I'm gonna do it. If y'all, I don't even know which camera to look at. That camera right there and that camera right there. If you thinking of something unique, if you've never been here before, especially, I would say especially the girls, young girls, and women, the girls, come out here with some of your girlfriends and spend some time going to these different photo booths so you can do photos and videos. And I guess you see what I'm doing. I'm actually broadcasting live. And yesterday we did a video and a podcast for another with two other businesses and podcasts. So we're going to be here using this space and promoting it. I got some other locations, but we're going to be here a little bit also. So there we go. That's why I'm here. That's why Wolverine behind me, and that's probably why you see the Hulk's butt in the background. I try to find a manly background for me to use. But we are talking about Black history. Yes, we're celebrating Black History Month. I call that's still American History Month. I'm going to put my fake glasses back on so I can hear. Okay. Sorry, still doing some stuff, moving stuff around. Move that right there. So, I got a question. So, we know. I'm sorry. I keep on apologizing. I apologize. My computer just want to act crazy. Um, all right. I'm getting together. Black History Month. I believe most of you should know by now. We lost Reverend Jessie Jackson on today. I actually got to meet him. I got a picture with him. I'm gonna go find that picture and post it. So I guess that was I think that might have been my closest connection to Dr. King by meeting um, Reverend Jesse Jackson. No, I met him again because he came to our hometown, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, I believe, when he was running for president. One of those times, I know he ran for president twice. So he is part of Black history and American history and civil rights history. So when I was thinking about what topic, so I couldn't talk about Black history without bringing up the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So one of my questions is, well, I know it's going to be a whole lot of videos and different things showing and talking about Dr. King. No, I'm sorry, Dr. King. Yes, can associate him with Dr. King, but I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. But the question arises: the fight that he spent his life fighting for, the civil rights movement, is that fight over, or is that movement over? Where a lot of our leaders that were fighting for civil rights, is that over? Um, have we made it to where we need to be? Like a lot of people, black and white, say is done, and we are here, and the fight is over. But I don't see it. So somebody let me know. Did you see it? And I can't see the comments over here. Um, so you know that Reverend Jesse Jackson worked very closely with Dr. Martin Luther King. And for some people who don't know, Dr. Martin Luther King chose the nonviolent way of making change. And Malcolm X, I respect Malcolm X. Malcolm X chose the other route, didn't care about violence, but then he changed. Like y'all know, Malcolm X had a change after he made a trip over to Mecca. Um, did y'all know? Hey, I got Wolverines. I was trying to figure out a way how to tie in uh, Wolverine and um, the Hulk that's behind me, and I just got it. I just got it. I don't know if y'all know. I have Wolverine, and what does Wolverine have to do with Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Man, I wish I had some money to give away a trivia question. What does the civil rights movement have to do with um, Wolverine that's behind me? Anybody know? Anybody know? Anybody in the back know? All right. I'm gonna tell you this is a little something I just top of my ding just popped in my head. If you are a X-Men fan, X-Men, Wolverine is from the X-Men. See, not the Hulk, but Wolverine he's from X-Men. And in X-Men, there were two leaders. So, looking at X-Men, and yes, the writer, producer of X-Men did tie in the civil rights to it. He explained it later. So two of the leaders, okay, let me back up a little bit. I had no plan at all. Really talking about the cartoons and X Men and everything like that. So a lot of y'all probably saw the X Men movies. There's been a lot of X Men movies. Okay, so let me tie this in to Black history. So yeah, thank you. That's why I'm sitting in front of Wolverine. All right, what does Wolverine have to do with Black history? So if you are a X-Man or X-Men, so they have men and women um, with different mutant powers. So in the series, different people had different powers. So they was called mutants. So the mutants had powers, but the regular people, um, I say regular people, the people who didn't have any physical special powers, they were in authority in the government, and they didn't care too much about the quote unquote mutants. Some people could call them the illegal aliens. They didn't care too much for that. So they had these different ways, like Sentinels. Sentinels was these robots they made to crush and to get rid of all the people that had mutant powers or superpowers. So there was if like I said, you look at the series, there's a conflict between the group of people who were born with these special powers. Some of them, the powers was given to them, but most of them were born with these different powers or gifts or whatever. There's nothing they could do about it. That's just who they were. Think about that. Just like your skin color, nothing you can do about it. But then there's other people who didn't have the powers they was afraid of or didn't like the people that had the powers. So there was a lot of times there was a clash. It was a war. They bumped heads with the government, and a lot of protests and stuff went down. All right, so y'all, you're with me. So the people who has these powers and the government didn't like them, so the government always tried to figure out a way to shut those people down. All right, so now there's the conflict. So now the people with the mutant powers or the special powers or whatever you want to call it, they had a choice to make, like in with the civil rights, nonviolence or violence. Professor X was over the X-Men. He had a school for the gifted people for the X-Men that they joined his team for nonviolence. Wolverine was on his team, but you see his face. He went all about that life of nonviolence. But then there was Magneto. Magneto was straight up about violence. So he had the people that joined his team or his side or his movement for the violent side. Then Professor X was the nonviolent side. So how does that tie into the civil rights movement? Professor X represented Martin Luther King, the nonviolence movement. And Magneto, he has his powers were he controlled metals. Um, Magneto, and they were friends. Both of them were friends. But Magneto chose the route of beat them down. I don't care what we got to do. If it takes violence, if it takes hurting people, they chose that route. So a lot of the mutants, people with the power, they had to make a choice. Some chose the nonviolent route. Others chose the uh, all means necessary route, if you know what I mean. So that's how I tie in the X-Men to Black history. So, and I believe he really taught a lot of lessons just through the cartoon series and the movies, teaching about compassion and letting people learn about what other people went through. You know, it was they instead of using people of color, they used people with special powers and special gifts. But you can still see and learn from what they went through from being attacked by the government, by not being liked by the government, or being feared by people. So that's if you got the time, or if you've never seen X-Men before, check it out. That's the bottom, the hidden story from the beginning. So now as time went on, the stories got more um, intertwined. But the original, where original came from, I mean, it was from the civil rights movement. But you didn't know. If now you know. Let people know Lil Joe taught you something today. All right. Um, so that we can talk about a little bit about Martin Luther King, um, and that where Reverend Jesse Jackson working with Dr. King back in the 60s and 70s. And if you know, throughout the 80s, I believe that was the time when he started running for president. Like I say, he ran for president twice, and he started the Rainbow Coalition. And that was a lot of people like just doing stuff for Black Rainbow is for everybody. NAACP, everybody. Um, so he didn't. I got a quote, a line. Jesse Jackson didn't just protest; he tried to build political power. So he understood that the way to make change and to make things better for people, you have to get into the political arena. And some, like I said, some things takes violence, and some things don't. But a lot of people, why so much protest, and why don't you just wait? My question, wait for what? Um, keep saying, if it wasn't people protesting and going against the grain, going against the system, slavery would still probably slavery would still be here. You couldn't just wait for things like that to end. You have to do something to cause it to end. See what I'm saying? So that's where it is, the nonviolence and violence, but something has to be done, or nothing would have been done. So there's a lot of people, why don't you just wait? And I've heard, yeah, Candace Owens right now saying some good stuff, but I've seen her on, I think it's Prager University. They say some crazy stuff on that. I don't even want to give them a shout out. But there's some lot of crazy nonsense stuff that they say. They just, a lot of racist things, and I guess they don't know that. I want to say, I don't know if they understand that they are being racist, but they are teaching the kids racist things and dumb things, and they say teaching like over time, if the people of color hadn't said anything or did anything, or the people that was in bondage, if they hadn't did anything, eventually slavery would have ended. So they saying why they didn't have to do those rioting, or not rioting, started, it ended up being a civil war. It didn't have to take all that. It would eventually fade away and end it. So that's a crazy way to look at it. Um, so let me see. So what happened during the civil rights generation? Because we can call it the civil rights generation, where uh, a lot of people, okay. So I don't know where to start. Let me see. Where do I start for the civil rights? So before he was even fathom thinking about any kind of civil rights, during that time, before it was the Jim Crow, and before the Jim Crow, it was slavery, legalized slavery. It was a law of the land, slavery, for hundreds of years. That led to multiple things, and not just slavery, but a couple of things led to um, a civil war in the country. The country was split between the North and the South, the ones who wanted to continue with slavery, and those who wanted it to end and free the slaves. And some of them had a case of sending some of the slaves back to Africa, which they did. So that's what led to the Civil War. So after the Civil War, in a lot of other wars in different countries, they dismantled and got rid of the people that was pro-war. So in our case, it was pro-slavery. In our country, we didn't cut the snake off by the head, as you would say. We didn't end it. We didn't get rid of the people who were all pro-slavery. What had happened was those people went into politics and started making laws, and that led to the Jim Crow laws, especially Jim Crow laws, mostly in the South. So I basically said, since we can't have slavery, but you still have slavery, because if you know, slavery is still legal in America. Slavery is still legal in America, in the prison system. I mean, even before that, even the Emancipation Proclamation. I mean, I helped that group. It's Emancipation Proclamation. No, it's not. It's Lincoln Douglas Emancipation Proclamation Incorporated. I'm missing the name. But anyway, that's a group that continues the mission of letting people know about the emancipation on January the 1st. That's what it was this New Year's. On January the 1st, they have a great event. But I digress. So during the emancipation, a lot of people in the North was not freed from slavery, and also slavery, if you can still look at it now in the Constitution, Slavery, long as if you get commit charged of a crime, it still go right back into slavery again. So that's why you keep on hearing people screaming law and order, law and order, law and order. They had a different set of laws, a lot of different laws that didn't um, pertain to all people. So when these people of color were freed, quote unquote, freed for what? Free to go where? So that's one of the things. They were freed, and then they was homeless. It's like you were a slave living on the property of your quote unquote master, and now you're free, and you were prevented from having an education. You were prevented from knowing how to travel, knowing how to go different places. You were prevented how to do a whole lot of different things. You were totally dependent on that master and that plantation. Now all of a sudden you are free to go. Free to go where? So some people knew where to go, but some people, a lot of them, they didn't know where to go. So um, a lot of them, if you uh, are looking and trying to find a place, trying to move, okay, so all right, I'm free, I can go now. So now you got your family and you're moving about trying to, I guess maybe trying to go north, and you have to go to sleep as you're traveling. You try to find a place to sleep, and you stop on some land. Now you're trespassing. That's against the law. You get locked up for that. You're hungry and you see a tree with some fruit on it. Try to get something to eat. You eat the apple. Now you're a thief for stealing the apple. Now if you just standing around trying to figure out where to go, now you're lottery. Get locked up for that. So it was all these different types of law and order, different laws to lock people back up again and to have them back in bondage again. So when the people keep screaming law and order, law and order is not always fair, especially in this country. So as time went on, like I said, the South was able to get into politics, and for them to be appeased, they was given the rights to make the Jim Crow laws. So the Jim Crow laws, they had laws with black people, laws with white people. There's things that white people could do and get away with, people of color could not. Imagine, like, let's say jaywalking. A white person could walk across the street, no problem. Black person walk across the street, just broke a law, get them arrested, go lock them up. So there's a whole total different set of laws. So what do you do about it? You protest it and you fight for civil rights. So now that's the making of the different our civil rights leaders, like most people know, Dr. Martin Luther King, and now people are talking about the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So that was their mission. That was their purpose, to help bring civil rights. What's civil rights? Is one is to get rid of those Jim Crow laws, separate laws for people of color. That was really hard. They was extremely hard on people of color. Just anything they could think of, or uh, any situation they could put them in to be able to lock people of color up, they took it. And then we're talking about voting, like you see how voting rights are being attacked right now. At one point through history, before slavery, we had the rights to vote, but then during slavery, no, no rights to vote. Then after slavery, some places they tried, but they had these different either poll taxes uh, or different laws, or a test. A test with some questions, but it was impossible for you to get answers right. Or the grandfather in. I know y'all heard of the grandfather in clause. So basically, if your grandfather was able to vote, you can vote. So they look at people of color. That grandfather wasn't able to vote. Nope. And white person come in. Yeah, his grandfather probably had the right to vote. Yeah, you can vote. That's where that statement comes from. So our civil rights leaders, a lot of people came together to fight. When I say fight, it, that's what it took, a fight. So if you don't have the rights to vote, well, basically you have no rights at all. That's pretty much what you got to do. You got to fight. So that's what our civil rights leaders did, um, was fight for rights, um, voting rights, economic access to funding for like housing, or there's money. A lot of whites, especially came to America, they just gave them a whole lot of land, gave them property, to build. People of color didn't get that. They didn't get it. Millions upon millions of acres were given to uh, a lot of people from European descent. Just gave them land. So now it's by like instantly they had wealth. Some they had to work the land, but still they was able to keep the land. That's instant wealth for that family. Where people of color didn't have that, didn't have that. And then sometimes you couldn't even, if they even scraped up some money, they still in many places were not allowed to even buy it. Um, so here's this word, reparations. Were they ever, were our ancestors ever given any kind of reparations? Y'all know, y'all heard the stories of 40 acres and a mule, or 40 acres and a mule. 40 acres is a lot of land, but um, that's what the government and Abraham Lincoln promised. And actually, some people got it. It was given to them. But after Mr. Abe Lincoln was assassinated, they went back and took it back. They took the land back and gave it back to the slave owners. So it's kind of like it was status quo. Just the war was over and stuff was changed, but still a lot of status quo. But somebody has to fight, continue to make that change. And we need federal protection. We need, if you pass a law, we need some kind of protection. That's what happened. The federal government had to come in and let these states know that slavery was over. And then, you celebrate Juneteenth. Why do you celebrate Juneteenth? Because the word didn't get to them until June. And some people even went longer than that before they found out. It was no it wasn't no cell phones and pagers and beepers and fax machine, none of that. So people had to be honest when they was traveling to go tell people. And some people, they wasn't honest. So it was a lot of plantations that was way, what we call it right now, off the grid. A lot of them was way off the grid. People didn't hardly ever go and visit, but then if they did, um, they didn't give the workers the information that they were free. So they still continue to work them. If they don't get the information and nobody's coming there to tell them, they still kept them as slaves. That's why the military, the federal government had to come in and let it be known and enforce letting the slaves go. So I know that those slave owners were upset to lose their free labor. And now they are like, oh, we worked so hard to build this country and people of color ain't do nothing. Oh, that bugs me when I hear people say that. So you got free labor, got wealthy, didn't pay a dime, and then throw them out into the world and call them lazy, sorry bums because they have nothing. They work for you for free. So you basically robbed them, stole from them, and then you put them out, and then you call them lazy and no good. But they worked hard for you for years. You're wealthy because of their labor. Okay, so we someone escaping by. So that last so the Jim Crow era led to the civil rights movement. People of color were fed up. So think of it. You had to work just as hard as anybody else. And so now times are changing. You're able to get a job. You're not getting the fair jobs like a lot of white people. So a lot of them, they reserve, like, I just want only white people supposed to be in leadership. Only white people can get the good jobs. Black people are not smart enough for these jobs, so we just can give the lower end jobs to black people and then reserve all the higher end jobs for the white people. So you working hard, you got a dollar, but then when you go to the store, you can't go in certain stores, or you have to go in the back of the store because your skin color determined that you're not worthy enough to come through the front door. Or the restaurant, you had to go through the window for them to send the food out the window because your skin color didn't allow you to go inside. So we know about Rosa Parks on the bus. People of color had to sit at the back of the bus because their color would make them less than, and the white people was more than. So the more thans get to sit at the front of the bus. The less dans got to sit at the back of the bus. The more dans can sit in the restaurant. Even what's that? What's that? The Green Book. Oh, that's a good movie. The Green Book. Uh, Sharice was looking up a lot of these locations. The Green Book and got me sidetracked. Explain the Green Book real quick. The Green Book is what people of color needed back during the Jim Crow era and even during the civil rights, where when you were traveling across the country, you needed to know where it was safe to go. You need to know where you could stay, whatever hotels that you could stay in, what gas stations you can go to, what restaurants you can go to as you travel, and needed to know what was a sundown town. Sundown towns, sundown towns still exist. Sundown towns are towns where people of color need to be out before the sun go down, or they may not see the light of day the next day. That's sad that we have those sundown towns here in America. So the Green Book was that book to let people of color know what was safe, where it was safe to go, and where you need to stay away from, where you may not be ever seen again. That's the terror and the torture that people of color had to live through. And I'm talking about these people that are still alive today. Like I said, it's some sundown towns that's still in operation today, and there's a lot of people who actually lived through, the Jim Crow era. They're still alive. The people who still want the Jim Crow era are still alive. The people who made laws to it are still alive. I mean, that's remind me of Jesse Jackson. Keep hope alive, but they are still alive. So we needed those people I call it our people who fought for us for the civil rights, and it led to one of the rights were the right to vote, 1965 voting right. So you was like, you're an American, but you can't vote. We don't think you smart enough to vote. So not only the people of color couldn't vote, women couldn't vote either. White women couldn't vote. So by us fighting for these civil rights, we actually gave rights, help other people obtain rights also. So we took the beatings, we took the clubs upside of our heads, we took the water hoses, spraying the water hoses. The water's blowing so hard it'll blow the skin off your body. We took the dog bites. We took the lynching. And I say there were some white people that went along and that was killed during that situation. But mostly it was people of color going through that to make a change in the country. And then when the change came, it was not only us benefiting, it was other races and women that benefited from what we went through. So women, especially white women, wasn't going through that. They was causing the problem towards people of color. But then when they got the civil rights, now y'all got the right to vote. Oh, I apologize. I beat you up for trying to stop you from getting the right to vote. And now I got my right to vote. So I apologize for hitting upside your head, but thank you for helping me get the ability to vote. Ah, the times that we live in. So then we went. It was a shift. So I don't even know if I want to go down that road explaining um, the party shift, like the people changing from the Democratic Party going over to the Republican Party and vice versa. That led to uh, Ronald Reagan. That area or the conservative area, like I said, the switch. It was a switch. A lot of people keep saying there was no switch. Um, Let me see. Should I spend some time on the switch? Well, anyway, no, I'm gonna keep going. It was a switch. So a lot of people that were Democrat, Southern Democrat. I'm gonna explain this. Let's say this little part too. So the parties wasn't made up like they are now. So there was both. There were really two major parties: Democrat Party and the Republican Party. But the Democrat Party, the Democrats in the South were more. They was conservative, but they were more racist for being in the South. The Democrats up north, they were not like racist. They was more liberal. And then now the Republican Party, the Republicans up north were more conservative, and then the Republicans down the south were more liberal. So that's why the people of color, like Martin Luther King and a lot of the other people of color, they were Republicans. They voted Republican. They were more more inclusive. So some people say, yeah, the Republican Party had the first two, I think the two people of color in Congress. Yes, that is true. But during the civil rights movement, it was a consolidation. So you had two parties with four different views. So now the Democratic Party was starting to be more progressive, more changing. So I guess the progressive and liberal side of the party in the North was bumping heads with the more conservative racist party in the South. But the party, and that's when they say the Republican Party voted against civil rights and this. Yes, it was a conservative side. It was a racist side that was voting against the civil rights. So yes, it was. It was a liberal side and it was a conservative side. So the conservative side was the one that was against all the civil rights and freedoms. So in our Republican Party, vice versa. They they was more, like I said, the Republicans were more liberal in the South, conservative up north. So now during the civil rights movement, big old clash, especially the Democratic Party was having a fit between the races in the South and the liberals in the North. So um, Thurman, how was Thurman's name? But anyway, Thurman. He was a congressman. He was in the Democratic Party, racist in the Democratic Party. He was a congressman in South Carolina for many years until most people. I can't say most people. Millions of people that's alive now were born where he was still in office. So he had this um, racist view, and he was upset with the Democratic Party of being progressive and changing and allowing um, rights and everything for people of color. So he broke off and started the Dixiecrats. The Dixiecrats were the Democrats that wanted to stay racist. They wanted to stay segregationists. So they did not like the direction that the Democratic Party was going in. They did not like the progressive, they called it the Progressive Party. They did not like the progressive direction they was going in. So most of those um, people, white conservative Republicans, a lot of them were racist. They couldn't stand what was happening to help out people of color. So they started the Dixiecrat Party. So now we got the Republican Party going against the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party was winning a lot of elections. So now the Republican Party, like, hey, how can we start winning some elections? Starting back like with Reagan, how do we win these elections? So we, the Republican Party, And we know we got the Democratic Party, but then we got the Dixiecrats that don't like the Democrats. So they're conservative, but they're also racist. But Republican Party like, we'll take them. We'll take them. So they um, campaigned and talked about how bad the white folks have to go through, all the different things they have to go through, how bad it was for them. And the Republican Party was going to change that. The Republican Party was going to, quote unquote, I know they didn't say it back then, but make America great again, to let people, the white folks, have their power and authority they had before. Does that sound familiar? So the Dixiecrat, the racist Dixiecrat, left the Dixiecrats and became Republican. So Republicans was the party that was welcoming to the racist party. So then the Republicans that didn't want to put up with the racism and the discrimination and the segregation stuff, they left the uh, Republican Party and joined the Democratic Party. So those four different corners now is pretty much two. They absorbed, like if they didn't like the way a particular party was going, they left and went to the other party. So now, um, yeah, so they switched. They say it was a great switch. People keep on saying it wasn't. It was a great switch. So now those four different views became two different views. So now Republicans are on one side and Democrats on another. So now that's where the civil rights people, Martin Luther King, and Jesse Jackson, all of them left the Republican Party and switched over to the Democratic Party. The great switch. And Thurman, how you say his name? Thurman. Okay. But Thurman was the Democrat, went to the Dixiecrat, and he switched from the Dixiecrats over to the Republican Party. It was a big switch. So that's where, with the people who wanted the segregation and the racism and the superiority and the black people at the back of the bus and white people at the front, all those people moved over and switched to the Republican Party. The Republican Party welcomed them in. And when that happened, guess what? The South, that used to be all Democrat, winning Democrats over and over and over again, it switched over to the Republicans. So that's when the South turned red. When the Democrats left, I mean, the racist Democrat and the conservative, not all, I'm not saying, but a lot of the racists and the segregationists, when they left the Democratic Party, joined the Republican Party, they started making laws that are threatening people of color from going to the polls, poll tax, all these different things to keep them from voting. Now, the Republicans started winning, and the Republican Party started winning, and that's where the South turned red. That's what, this is a Republican state. Yeah, they the people moved, the Democrats that had all the power in the South moved over to the Republican Party and gave all that power over to the Republican Party. So it went from blue to red. And then, like I said, they had gerrymandering, they had the poll taxes, they threatened people, they had the quizzes that you had to take. So whatever it took to keep people of color from voting, that's what they did. But up north, it was totally different. It was more fair, I say, and the people of color were able to, um, it was different up north. So that's why a lot of people in the South, people of color in the South, it was more opportunities. Their people of color had opportunities to um, run for elections and get different positions and get educated. I keep on hearing people of color is like, why? Why are there HBCUs and universities? Why are there black colleges and black universities? Because the people of color were not allowed to go into the white universities. And there's so many people that don't know nothing about history. But okay, so now we at the point of So really, we're still talking about Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson. That's what their purpose was, to fight for everybody's right to be able to have a right to vote, or a right to live where you want to live. A lot of those different things. Um, but it took a mindset change. So the question is, did the policy gain equality, culture, and unity? Did the policies, the different changes that happened, um, did it bring in equality? Not really. They gave us more opportunities, but not really equality. So that's where these different things, they needed more things to help. That's where affirmative action came from. That's where DEI came from. It wasn't to like cheat, where people say people of color cheat by using DEI. It's not. It's not cheating. Bring his name up. Charlie Kirk was like, he didn't want to fly in a plane if he saw a person of color flying the plane. So he felt like he just was given the position. Don't work like that. It don't work like that. The same things that everybody had to go through the same hoops and loops. And if they don't qualify. Nobody got a free pass, but our government told people that people of color got a free pass and they just got handed out free jobs and free money and free everything. Well, we fighting tooth and nails just to get a little bit. They're getting told that we getting everything for free. Big fat juicy lie. But it just has to be taught. Um, so here's a question: did integration create opportunities? Let me see it over here. Did integration create opportunities, but weaken community structures? I guess that's a question and an answer. So yes, integration brought in opportunities, but it did weaken the community. So there was some good things, and I know it's like this is controversial for a person of color to say. There were good things from segregation. There were some good things during segregation, and let me explain. But I was like, what? During segregation, uh, pretty much the white folks didn't want the black folks around. Okay, we go over here. We can start our own community then. They started their own community. I say they, and I say we. We started our own community. We um, started out. We had our businesses, and we supported our business. We had banks. Um, we had our schools. We had all these things in our community that was prospering. They even had quote unquote Black Wall Streets. So segregation caused people of color to congregate, segregate, or join forces and build up great communities across and around the country. But I'm gonna go to that camera. But what happened? What had happened was a lot of the other people in charge, they didn't appreciate that. They didn't like that. They didn't want to see people of color prospering. So they came up with ways to break them down. We need to take them down, break them down, to get them down to their knees. So they would burn a lot of the different towns. And there's different lakes. I know there's one in Fulton. Is it Fulton? Up there near Atlanta, where they pretty much flooded the whole town. The whole town is under a lake. So they did that in a lot of places around the country. They would flood the entire town. They ran the people off, or sometimes they will unalive them, if that's the word for me to say. They will unalive them, and or they will force them out of town, and they will flood the town um, with a lake. And just right this second, I just remembered. Woo! Do y'all remember? I like that the movie. What's that movie? Come on. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, that R. Oh man, it's about some three white dudes that was arrested back in the 30s. Oh, there are great thou are some or they are. It'll come to me. But anyway, one of the guys that got arrested, um, I remember he was well, the main character. Our Lord, I can't. They was locked. They was in a chain gang, but they was musicians and they went and recorded a song while they was escaping. But I remember part of the movie was they was flooding this town and it was putting a lake in there. So the man he was trying to get back to his house before they flooded to try to get to his. He had his I think it was Dapper Dan Grease. But so that just reminded me of that. But they didn't show. They did show uh, how they just showed a little bit. They didn't really show how people of color was treated. Somewhat. They just put a little bit in there. But it was some bad times. It was horrible times for people of color. But they centered around mostly white people. They had one or two um, black people in the movie, but it's during that time, so it wasn't good for the black people. But anyway, it just popped in my mind how they showed how they flooded the town. So you can see a lot of movies. Another movie. My sisters love it. Um, well, I can't think of the names. Oh brother, oh brother. Dog, I was trying to think of that movie. And then the other one is Life. The Life with Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy and but the movie Life is during that same time, during the Jim Crow era. You remember the scene about white only pies? It's during that time. So they made a comedy out of it, but you can learn a lot on how the times where they went into the restaurant. You must didn't read the sign. It says whites only. You remember he said he want one of them whites only pies. So like I said, it was a comedy. But if you watch the movie and you can see how, like I said earlier, how just slavery slavery was still legal if you lock somebody up. So they got a lot of those people got locked up for some minor things. They got locked up and then they were thrown into the chain gang, and then the chain gang was hired by the state. So you got free labor. And a lot of times those chain gangs was worse than slavery. But you was like, how can that be? A lot of that was worse than slavery because during slavery, your master owned the slaves. People were their property. And what would you do? You done invested in this person. They didn't consider them a person, but they invested it into this person, and this person made them money. But if I unalive this person, I'm not going to make any money from this person. So it would behoove me to keep this person alive. But then they even had laws. They had laws where if you beat your person to death, it was not charged. It was mostly the women of the house would beat their workers. They would beat them, unalive them. So they passed some laws so they wouldn't be charged with a crime. But mostly the actual owner, he would not continually want to unalive his quote unquote property. But when it went to the chain gang and you leasing, y'all know, a lot of y'all know, go to that camera, y'all know y'all treat people stuff differently. Like if you own it, you can treat it pretty good, aren't you? You can treat it pretty good. But if somebody else, you got a landlord or somebody else you rent a car, some people they treat their car good. They get a rental car, they dog that rental car out because they don't own it. The same thing. The same thing. When they rented the people of color, um, when they rented the people of color, they didn't whatever. So if they worked them to death, They would get other people to dig a hole, roll them over there, put them in a hole, keep it moving. They didn't own it; they leased it. So this one right here passed away. We need another one. They get somebody else the next day. So that's bad. They didn't care if the people stayed alive or not. So that was some rough times. So that's what the movie Life is about. Um, like I said, it's a comedy twist on it. I don't a lot of people don't look at it that way. It's teaching you and showing you what people of color had to go through during that Jim Crow era. So let me bring it back around again. So we back to where we put. I've been going all different directions. Back to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jesse Jackson dedicated his life to help people of color get past that, get past not being able to go into any restaurant. Say that they'll take your money, but you can't come in. Or this second class, not even a full citizen. So we are here, we are Americans, and even the wars. People of color have fought in every single war, but have not been given the dignity. Some we know how not even citizenship. That's what's saying. Not even full citizenship. So we want you to give your life, but we don't want you. We don't really consider you as a citizen, or we're going to treat you as like a second class or third class citizen. So we want you to go get into these wars. Go to the Vietnam War, go to the Korean War, go to World War One, World War Two. Go and fight, and give your life. When you come back, you less than a man. A lot of the men, they came back when in the uniform, they would get beat up. In America, there was a lot of riots of, of white soldiers or white citizens seeing black soldiers end up being a riot because, like, yeah, I want you to go and fight for fight for freedom. So the United States is going to help fight for these other countries for their freedom, but when you come back home, you don't have freedom. That, but people want us, hey, get over it. Stop talking about it. Back to Jesse Jackson dedicated his life to help us get past that, to get past these things. When I say get past it, you got to address everything one by one. It's a lot of different things. So the voting rights. So we got the voting rights, the right to vote. But guess what? Our voting rights are under attack right now. So that's like, so is the fight over? I didn't even get to my notes, but so I can't imagine if I wish was able to talk to the Reverend Jesse Jackson before he passed away. So for him to dedicate his life, one of the big accomplishments was to be able to the voting right act of 1965, and now for him to see it to be slowly look like it's slowly falling apart, coming apart, and some of you was like, how? So we see that it was just the Save Act, the Save Act that just got passed. They quote unquote saying is to help keep the voting rights, but it's really the opposite. I don't know if I got to. I'm gonna explain that a little bit. And I'm supposed to be on another call. I surely supposed to. I'm gonna try to wrap this. So I just saw what time it was. We got to pick this up. And Mr. Jen, you had to join me. Mr. Walden. Oh, Mr. Walden, I know you lived through a lot of this. I know Mr. Walden is so full of history. I see him there. But yes, anyway, my main point. I was talking about the civil rights. We're in Black History Month. We just lost a great person, especially a great person fighting for civil rights and not just rights for people of color, rights for all people. But my point, real quick, the SAVE Act that just got passed. The SAVE Act is saying that it's going to help protect the polls. It's already against the law. It's a felony to be an immigrant in the country. is a civil citation. It's not a federal law against being here, or it's not a federal law against overstaying your visa. It is not. It's so they're not really the elite calling someone a legal alien. That's really um, derogatory. I would say. To so back. Oh man, I got to be quiet. But they call someone illegal and alien. So what do they do to people of color? They call men boys, or they they had other different names to try to downplay us of being human beings on their level. So that's where the boy or girl or whatever other names. I had to other people ask what names that they call people of color, but it was designed to keep us down and keep them above us. So that's what's happening again when you call someone an illegal alien. And a lot of these people are United States citizens. They're still getting called an illegal alien. So that's really, and they know, some of them, they know that they're citizens, but they're being called illegal aliens. Not that they are illegal, but it's another way of being a derogatory, it's a racist derogatory form to say that. So that gets under my skin when I hear people of color say that. I'm kind of like, y'all, you really know what you're saying. You can be an um, undocumented person, an undocumented immigrant, but to call someone an illegal alien, that's derogatory. I know a lot of people are like, no, it's not, no, it's not. Okay, but we'll see as time go on. But so anyway, they're saying that they're trying to prevent people that's unauthorized to vote, keep them from voting. It's already it's a federal law against that. They locking people up when they find out they like voted twice, or some lady, her license was something was suspended or something, and they locked her up. So they don't play about the voting, and so all the different investigations and all this trying to find millions of illegals voting, they couldn't find it because it didn't happen. Then they tried to find, they said dead people was voting. They couldn't find it because it didn't happen. But just because it didn't happen, they can, if they keep on saying it, keep saying it over and over and over again, people start to believe it. So people believe it by you saying it over and over and over again. So now people believe millions of immigrants, they voted when they wasn't supposed to. Didn't happen. As you see, a lot of this party don't care about the truth. Okay, so now we're gonna pass a law to help save the voting. So if one of them is they're trying to push people to get passports. So passports are a good thing. One, more than half America don't have passports. And then somebody did a study. They were saying that they're passing these laws to try to keep quote unquote Democrats from voting. But then this act is really heavily affecting the Republicans. Why is that? Because they say a lot of Democrats or liberals or whatever label. I hate these labels, but a lot of the quote unquote non-Republicans they travel the world. They say they're educated. They don't like educated people. A lot of them are educated. A lot of them have their passport. A lot of them, and I want to say, hey, I got pass. I done traveled all over the world, but I started before I joined the military, doing the military, after the military, travel the world, constantly had it's time to update my passport again. So we have passports, but then what's up, sis? I'm supposed to have been off this thing. I got to go. But then, like I said, they passed this law. A lot of these people who have never had passport, a big chunk of the Republican Party don't have a passport. And then it's around 160 something dollars for the passport. So I was having this discussion with somebody online. I was like, okay, if you want to require IDs, I didn't even know about the passport thing, but I was saying that there's some people that don't have IDs. So I'm like, if you don't have um, IDs, why come the government can't give everybody that don't have a driver's license or there might be homeless people, there might be veterans, there might be elderly. It's a lot of people that don't have IDs. Physical modern ID. If they spending billions upon billions of dollars, I'm gonna say billions. Right now it's millions. I don't know big on commercials and stuff. But we got like during election time, we got to watch these commercials back to back over and over and over again. They spend all these millions of dollars. So it should be money to get people IDs. But now so they're trying to switch it over to passports. Because you remember they just made everybody get the real ID. So that's already the real ID already getting close to the mark of the beast, to tell you the truth. But so anyway, they made everybody get the real ID. Now they're saying we don't trust the real ID. So we want everybody to get to have a passport. So the real ID was like state based. So now they're like, okay, the government is going to control it. The government, Mark, Marco Rubio, will be in charge of who get to have a passport or not, or they will be in charge of what paperwork that you have to bring in. You notice, have you heard some places when you're traveling, they want to see your phone. They want to look at your phone and see what kind of information that you've been sharing online and different things. So imagine having to have a passport to be able to vote instead of just your driver's license or your regular ID and your maybe your birth certificate. A lot of people don't have a birth certificate. Some was born without a birth certificate. Yes, some people still alive now that was never issued a birth certificate. That's crazy, but yeah. But so now they want to switch over to the passport. If they switch over to the passport, they got way more control. So now you get ready to go vote, and you got your information. Here's my passport. It's up to date, but you posted something last week that we don't like. Hit a button, click, you can't vote that day. That's how much more control that they will have when they switch it over to passports. Yes, they're gonna. Yeah, you get probably scan it in. You hit the system. They will say everybody that said anything negative about the administration, they don't get to vote. They are a threat to the country. They're a threat to society, and we don't want them to vote. So now look at all those people not able to vote. We don't like this group of people. They can't vote. So that's one reason why they're pushing for the passport. So the federal government will have control with the real ID. That's the state level where it should be at the state level. When it's at the state level, the federal government don't have any control. That's why I don't know if y'all caught that. That's what it is. The Constitution say the state level is the ones that's in charge of the voting. So the voting rights belongs to the state. If we switch it over to passport, we automatically giving that control over to the government, and pretty much whoever's in the White House got control over who can vote and who cannot vote. So that's the bad side about it. So I don't have a problem with everybody getting ID. Like I said, back to if they give everybody an ID, everybody should have an ID. I mean, y'all require an ID. It's plenty of money for the government to give an ID. And I need to go. I didn't even get past my first segment, but I thank y'all for tuning in. Let me switch over here real quick. Push that button right there, and I'll just see if it's any. Where my comments at right there? I'm gonna try to read that comment. It is unfortunate but true, but if, eventually it will be mandated for everyone to carry papers of citizenship or be arrested. That is sad. Right now, it's against the law for that. U.S. citizens are not required to carry papers, but the government is working its way trying to make that happen. So we should quote unquote fight back. You know, I don't think you're not in a free country anymore. We I mean, they're making it worse than what it really is. So they're bringing up, making issues that we don't have. Um, so I don't agree with that. All right, I'm gonna go. But look, before I go, I see some people on my. I'm pointing right here. I got my phone right here. I got two cameras right here that's hooked up to the computer. So I got people online watching. So I'm gonna end this online, but then people that's on my personal page, don't go away. I'm gonna show y'all where I'm at again, real quick before y'all go. So everybody that's online, I pray you all have a good night. We're gonna pick this up again. Um, Give me some questions. Give me some topics. Let's expound on this. Let's continue to educate. There's a lot of this stuff that's missing in the schools. It's not getting taught in the schools. We have to teach it out. Lots of you got to look this stuff up yourself. I've been finding so many things. I thought I knew something about Black history, but it's always so a lot of stuff that's been hidden. A lot of information been hidden. Um, but anyway, let's dig into it. Not only the rest of the month for Black History Month, I still consider Black history is American history. Let's get into it even more. So hit me up if you want to be on the show. Let me know. I can bring you in on the show. I want to talk about. I got some other guests lined up to talk about different directions. I just want to talk about um, um, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who just passed away. May he rest in peace. We thank him for all the things that he has done to help with the fight of getting civil rights. What his one of his famous quotes was, "Keep hope alive." So everybody, let's keep hope alive. Let's move forward. Let's move in love. Let's educate in love. It's not about hate. It's about love and making this country great. Just make it great. We haven't got there yet. We've never been there yet. Let's help make America great. All right. To everybody's online, Lil Joe out.